He is Jalen Anthony Rose.
What
I'm
up?
David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do? We give the people what they want every day. Later on in the show, who's going to join us, Jalen Rose?
A legend. One of my favorite people of all time, who just so happens to be the greatest running back to ever perform in the NFL. A icon. If I was doing a rankings, Jacoby, of the social and political athletes of all time, Muhammad Ali would be number one. Our next guest would be number two. Mr.
I won't even.
Brown is going to be here.
Jim Brown joins us later, but right now we start with the NBA bubble, which is almost about to open up in Orlando, and Dame Lillard has come out and said that he does not think that NBA players will follow the bubble rules. Jalen, what do you think?
I've been talking about this since the beginning. Here's the deal. They're young, they're in shape, handsome, and rich. And you know what happens when you're not at work? You're enjoying life. And basketball is 2 or 3 hours a day, whether it's practice or a game. And you still have your mobile device in your hand. It's called a smartphone. It's going to be a lot of DMs. It's going to be a lot of videos. It's going to be a lot of people getting caught up via social media. Do you know what else people are going to be doing? Finding ways to get people in and out of that bubble that ain't playing basketball. That's going to take place.
There's a lot of levels to this, and I think that a lot of people sort of talk about it in a romantic sense, that people will come in and out to break the bubble. But it's not just that. There's friends that you want to see. If you've ever been to a hotel, you're like, oh, I'm going to spend the whole vacation in this hotel. And after you've been to the pool and you've ate at the restaurant and you've rented the movie in the room, you want to leave. Like, it's not just a romantic thing. I think that you want to leave just to physically leave the hotel that you're staying in and not just go to work, hotel, work, hotel, work, hotel. You want to try different foods. You want to get out. Like, I just think that leaving the bubble is something that people will do for romantic and other reasons. But will they get caught? Will there be real punishment? Do you think they'll really have to quarantine if such and such went to a restaurant outside of the bubble? Do you think they might turn a blind eye to that in terms of punishment?
I don't believe so. You can't, because the coronavirus is serious. And we can speculate all we want, but here's what we do know. Many states loosen restrictions, and the coronavirus cases continue to rise. So for all we know, the next 2 or 4 weeks could be a case study of whether this experiment's going to happen or not happen. So it's still a work in progress.
Well, I think this is going to happen because you think about the community that they're creating. People are tested, if not every day, every other day. And once a positive test is recognized, that person is quarantined so they can't spread the normal habits that people would spread without the testing. I think with that much testing and the $150 million they're putting in to putting this on, it will happen. I don't think there'll be as many positive tests as other people think. I don't think it's going to swing series the way that other people think it will just because they're testing so much. But there's definitely going to be some people coming in and out of that bubble they're not supposed to, and we will see just how hard the NBA will come down on them. And due to all of this, someone who might walk out of this with a championship is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he said that getting a championship here would be the toughest championship you could win. What do you think about that?
I think in various ways, you can say that it's the most unique championship of all time, playing in a bubble after doing 80% of the regular season, finding ways to play 8 games for a play-in with the 8th spot, and then engaging into playoffs. It will be the most unique journey. I can't necessarily, it will be the toughest journey. But how about this? Of all the contending teams, I was just thinking about this. The Los Angeles Clippers are the only one that this is the best chance in the history of their franchise to win a championship.
Fact.
Of all time.
Fact.
All time. And it's only
Absolutely
right
is.
a squad like that has never got to the finals or won it, and is the JV squad in their own building, actually wins it under these circumstances.
So one thing that I think about this statement and a lot of the statements we've heard leading into this bubble situation, they're not unbiased. Like when you are a contender and you are the Bucks and you're the number 1 seed in the East, all of a sudden it's it's the toughest championship to win. This is going to be the hardest one to win. But if you're not in it, like Draymond, who we spoke to, it's like, oh no, there's definitely going to be an asterisk. Oh, it's like, and if you're not going to go, it's like, you know what, we should really consider not going because of the social injustice and what we can do. But if you are a championship contender, let's use this platform and fight for social injustice. I just think there's a lot of bias, especially when it comes to the championship and how hard it's going to be. And the asterisk, but the source on this one is someone who wasn't healthy when the NBA season ended or was paused and is now healthy. So it's certainly not going to be tougher for him personally with the time to get healthy. What do you think about that, Steve?
I agree, because as the season was progressing, he was dealing with the knee injury, and LeBron was gaining steam on the MVP race. Now he's had a chance to recover. I think he's been fantastic the entire season and deserves the MVP for the regular season. And so going into these playoffs, it's going to be interesting to see how his surrounding cast shows up. Middleton and Bledsoe. And if they're able to overcome what everybody's going to have to overcome as it relates to the sacrifices needed in the bubble, let's see if they can not only uphold the number one seed in the league, but actually make it to the finals and see if Giannis can lead them to a championship.
We'll see. It feels like both the Eastern and Western Conference is wide open as ever as we head to Orlando. It is now time for News That Matters. There's been a saga, there's been an investigation, there's been a mystery over the past couple of weeks that's really impacted the world of sports, and that is, who is killing Jay Cutler's chickens? And Jalen, we know who's killing the chickens. After some surveillance video is out there, we've learned it was raccoons. Raccoons were killing Jay Cutler's chickens. What do you think about this?
It's the call of the wild. I appreciate how he was very soft-spoken throughout his NFL career. Ultimately, with his ex-wife, became a reality star and developed the personality that we didn't know he had. And these are the type of viral clips that have nothing to do with his personality, yet have us engaged in his social media. So I'm not mad at him at all.
I'm not mad at him either. I love Jay Cutler so much more now that I've watched him on television off the football field than I did when I watched him on the football field. When we come back, Jalen Rose is going to take a seat on the bench, and I will be joined by Jim in the fight against systematic racism and social injustice.
I absolutely think 2020 will do that, because you've never seen the racial situation as positive as it is at this particular time. And it takes a lot of players being unselfish, being intelligent about this to make it work. So I'm very, very happy, and I'm very optimistic about the results.
And this movement comes during a time where we're all facing a global pandemic with the coronavirus. Do you think returning to sports, returning to the field can help or hurt this movement in the fight against social injustice?
Well, you have to return at some point. And so I would say that it will help the movement. And because you want to have the sport and doing the best it can do for the fans, and all of the conditions that are dealing with you, that we're dealing with, are very difficult. But when the game must go on, that's always been a cry when you deal with sports.
That's a good point. The game must go on. So for players that are going to start playing and going to have cameras pointed at them and microphones in their face, how can they use that platform to help further this movement?
Well, I think if the players that have the ability to be on national television are conscientious enough to speak up and speak out, it will be a positive thing. It will have a positive effect. So that's the way I look at it.
There's been some discussion about changing the name of the Washington football team. We do not say the name on this program. Do you think now is the time for them to change the name of that team in the NFL?
You do not say the name on this program, huh? Well, I'll tell you, there's so many things that needs to be changed. I'm all for it. I think it's a consciousness. I think that in this era, you must make those bold moves. And yes, I think that it should change it. Tell why they're changing it. And let's move on towards a world wherein people are equal and people are given the respect for just being human and being good. Racial situation is something that should be outdated. So yes, get rid of the Redskins, and that would make a big move.
You heard it from Jim Brown. We've been saying it for a long time. It's about time that name be changed. It should have happened a long time ago. It's good to see all of today's athletes being so active. And is it true that your activism once landed you on the FBI watch list?
That's what I heard. I was everywhere trying to do everything and not being very successful. But I think that is a true situation. They thought that my big mouth and the influence that I had would be a danger maybe to the country, but it didn't work out that way. I was just trying to make a better playing situation in a situation where African-American players were not really given equal quality time or money or recognition. So trying to break the taboos down, trying to make a difference.
Well, we appreciate using your influence then and now to make a difference. And someone who did that as well is the WNBA's Maya Moore. She sat out all of last season fighting for the release of Jonathan Irons. He was released yesterday. What does it feel like to see someone sacrifice like that?
It's a great feeling because that's real sacrifice. And you have to be convinced on what you're doing and you have to stand up for it. And I think in our country we have to do that. But America always did that to a certain degree. But for this young lady to stick her neck out like that, it's an amazing thing. I congratulate her.
Well, I'm sure she'll be very happy to hear that. Jim, of course, we want to talk to you about the Cleveland Browns. A lot of pressure on the Browns this season. What are your expectations for your Cleveland Browns this season if we have a season?
Well, I don't want to be prejudiced, but I'm always looking for a Super Bowl win. I think that in football today, anybody can win. And I'm hoping that the Asms, who are great owners, take a look at what their weak spots, make those particular changes. But I think the organization is going to do real well.
Great. So let me just, I heard that right. You're predicting a Super Bowl win for the Cleveland Browns?
Well, I'm not seriously predicting one to be a predictor, but why not? I mean, what? It's 0 right now. They haven't lost a game. So, why not have some fun with it? That's my team.
The Cleveland Browns are undefeated.
That's right. They're undefeated right now.
Undefeated. You said it right. You heard it from Jim Brown. The Cleveland Browns are undefeated right now. Jim, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you so much for your entire life dedicated to fighting this fight. We'll be back with Jalen Jacoby in just 2 minutes. Welcome back to Jalen Jacoby. Jalen, you were on the Fat Joe show last night, and you were in a Versace robe. Why were you wearing that robe?
Fat Joe, legendary MC, brother from another mother, friend of Jalen and Jacoby. I was channeling my inner Thurston Howell III. It was like 9 p.m. You get a chance to kick it with the best combination of Joe and Oprah, like he calls himself, Jopra. And I was on there giving the people what they want. What you think about it? You might have to grab you one.
Always giving the people what they want. We'll be back at 4 p.m. tomorrow to give the people what they want. Right now, it's Dan Le Batard and Highly Questionable.
Yeah,